Good morning, everyone. We are continuing with our prayer-a-thon and revival in the lead up to our historic Commitment Sunday at a place at the table for everyone, our accessibility campaign. I'm Pastor Justin, and I'm here with two really wonderful guests, two longtime members of our spirit-filled community, Chuck and Lisa Whitman. Say hello, dear friends.
Hello.
Hi. So, first of all, yeah, what is your what's your connection to this crazy place? What's your story?
Well, my parents joined Messiah Lutheran Church when I was 5 years old, so back in 1966, if you can believe it. And my parents had been going until they passed away every single year. There were times we were in and out. But for the majority, I've been here. Not the family was in and out. I was in and out. But for the majority, I've been a member since I was 5 years old.
Yep, and I met Lisa in the winter, around the late winter of 1985. So my first exposure to Messiah probably would have been Christmas Eve, 1985. So I was out there with her family that time because I was actually starting my state job the day after Christmas. Wow. So, 85 Christmas Eve. Yeah, probably first introduction to Messiah.
Cool, awesome. Well, so y'all have a lot of history. One question I'm asking everyone, and in this is what are some of your favorite memories of this place?
Well, I have to say some of my happiest memories have been the fellowship and the camping. And people would say camping, but believe it or not, we did that back then. There were several families that used to get together. There was the Underkofflers, the Beckers, the Fishers, the Smalls, the Freebles, and sometimes Pastor Rose and his family would join in. And other people did too, but their names are escaping me at this point. Some had travel trailers, some had tents, and we would just be one big happy family getting together, both the adults and the kids. We all got along. One place in particular that I remember was in Schenectady, run by Mr. and Mrs. Gibbs. And we used to go there yearly. I cannot remember the name of the actual place, but I remember it was a big field and there was a pavilion, and we do a lot of socializing, a lot of potluck dinners. The kids would rock hop the creek. I can't tell you how many times we got wet. We'd have a lot of games. We just had so much fun when we were doing that. And then usually if Pastor was there, there'd be a mass celebrated on Sunday before we all left. And what I remember is just that everything was just so accepting. The church has always been so accepting. And as I said, I joined when I was 5, around 1966, and the level of acceptance, friendliness, inclusion, and community has been there for as long as I can remember. But it was more than camping, comes to my mind too. The groups, there were other group events. We would go to wherever Bill Becker was playing, his band, and our families would go there. We square dance. We went places where Bill was playing for square dancing. I can remember square dancing, and you did too.
I never went to square
dancing. I thought you did.
Yeah,
well, I went with somebody then. Sorry.
I would love to bring back square dancing. It just seems like something that's really fun that I think I've experienced at camp actually, but once or twice.
We had to do it in gym class when we were kids.
Oh, wow.
And then I can remember being brought to each other's homes, and we'd have, the dinner, we'd socialize. Sometimes we'd be outside with fires. There were holiday gatherings at each other's homes, gifts exchanges, foods. And then I can remember there were always special dishes that certain people liked, like the mincemeat pie and my mom's apricot ring or the clam casserole. Those are things I can remember my mom doing. The fellowship that occurred was just phenomenal now when I think back on it. And I got so many happy memories that I cherish from my childhood of being at Messiah. Sorry, I didn't mean to do this.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Chuck.
So like I said, my first introduction to Messiah was Christmas Eve, 1985. Back then, the Christmas Eve service started at 10 o'clock at night. And, would run for, an hour and a half, hour, 3/4. But, just going through that service, and especially at the end, all the lights were out and the candles, and it's like, yeah, this is like really cool. Then, once we were moved into the area, now it's okay, now we've got the Easter, we got the Easter breakfast, we'd always go to that. Yeah, probably certainly one of the most significant memories is we got married in that church.
Mhm.
So, that I still remember that day.
Yeah.
First part of August, and man, it was beastly hot.
I'm so glad we have an AC now in the narthex, and part of what we're trying to, or not in the narthex, in the sanctuary, and certainly a big part of what we're trying to do is get AC through most of the rest of the building too. So
And I remember the fact that
goodness.
I remember the fact that Pastor Rose was so willing to do it along with Father David.
Mhm.
Oh wow, that's cool. I don't know if I knew
Yeah.
that story. Wow. All right.
Yeah, because growing up, I grew up Catholic,
Yep.
and the Lutheran liturgy is close enough for what I need.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was doing church services through the college. So we had a pastor, Father David Looney by name, not by nature, his words. And yeah, they had no problem, doing what needed to be done. Father Dave, he contacted the Albany Diocese, got whatever permissions he needed.
Because he was from the Syracuse Diocese.
Ah.
And then, Pastor Rose, he did whatever, and it worked out really, really well. It was quite a nice ceremony. So we were very happy that they were able to pull that off.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. And I think does speak to the sort of inclusivity that Lisa was talking about. Just one more memory I have of both of y'all. I always doing helping out with the greening of the church, and I just had this
Yes.
memory my first Christmas here of, I think it was you, Chuck, lifting up a bit, then very, very small, tiny little Atticus to put like the star on top or something like that, and just loved it. Yeah, so really good memories. What does it mean for you all to, why do you think it's so important that we are working so hard to make our worship center fully accessible? That's the kind of the last question.
Well, one of the things I do remember is before Lisa's mom died, we had a surprise birthday party for her 85th.
Yeah, I think so.
And, we had it up, upstairs.
Dad's too.
And yeah, your dad's too. And it's like, I know I had, quite an issue trying to get her up the stairs at that time.
Oh.
And, anybody that's been there, they've used, the current bathrooms at least once. And, getting downstairs, they're rather steep, rather narrow. I'm sure they were fine for the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, just, I kind of, fast forward 30, 40 years, and it's like, when I get, that much older, this is going to be, quite an issue just to go upstairs or go downstairs. And I know
Mhm.
over the years we've talked, okay, well, how can we make this better?
Yeah.
And, given the current resources we had at the time, nothing really said, yay, hey, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Lisa, on that? Or?
Well, and the fact that church is not so popular amongst the younger crowd. If we make it more accessible to them in ideology, in what we offer to the community, and then also physically, as people have disabilities or whatever, I think it's just going to help maintain a church. And knowing that we're growing when other churches are so severely shrinking, I think this is a good step forward.
Yeah. Thanks for lifting that up, Lisa, because I think one thing that a lot of these conversations have been just deeply reminding me of is, as much as this campaign is mostly about physical accessibility, which is so important, I think it's helping us think about all those other ways that we really need to be accessible to everyone, and in all sorts of backgrounds, and yeah, so I really appreciate that. Well, any other final words or thoughts as we continue our prayer-a-thon and revival?
Well, the only thing I can throw in there, and again, this is something that did start, right from that first introduction to Messiah. Lisa brought me in there, and it's like, she's now making introductions. So, meet the Beckers, meet the Undercufflers, meet the Kesbergs, meet
Oh, I
this,
forgot
meet
about
that.
them. Yeah.
And it's like, everybody I met, it's like, hey, how you doing? Welcome. And, that kind of attitude has, still been there, for all the years that we've been there. And we're coming up on, at least I'm coming up on 35 years
Me, it's 55.
that I've been doing it. It just hasn't changed. When we were at the event the other night, you walk in there and, half the faces were very familiar, and it's like, hi, how you doing? Good to see you. And it's like, that's the way it's always been. And yeah, if we can, get things opened up a little more, let's have a front door. That certainly would
Door
say,
to
hey, come
nice,
on in.
right? Yes.
I see that carrying right through.
Yeah. Awesome.
Especially as COVID starts to subside and people are comfortable getting back together again. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think, one thing I've been reminded about, we've just recently kind of restarted with, kind of fellowship after the services. And as much as it's so important and so sacred for us to be gathering together around God's table in worship, I think it's actually equally spiritually and significant and sacred that we're gathering together around tables and having snacks and sharing of each other's lives with one another. I'm so excited and so thankful that so many folks are so willing to step up and be a part of making that that type of gathering around a table accessible for everyone too. So I really thank y'all for joining us, Chuck and Lisa, and
Sorry for that.
that's all good. And we'll continue with our prayer-thon and revival.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.